Hey, PBio. I had a lot of students who were struggling making some of these graphs on the photosynthesis and cellular respiration investigations that we looked at. So I wanted to show you kind of two different options that you could have for your graphs. Option one would be that you could have dark, 10, 20, 30, and then you could just have the final pH values or the final absorption values if you're doing those graphs, and then you could create a column graph. And in making those, you would just have different columns for your different groups. The other option is that we collected data over time. So option two could show that you could see how the pH or the absorption changes from, our initial measurements all the way up through however many measurements we were able to take, like 20 or 30 minutes. So let's look first at option one. If you choose to do this option, remember that you're only going to be plotting the final pH or the final absorption values for each of your variables. So what you're going to want to do here is, if you're looking at investigation one, we're looking at light intensity. So that would be dark, and then we had 3 different distances from the light. And notice that I am putting in cm to stand for centimeters here because I want to make sure that Excel knows that I do not want it to plot that data, like the 10, 20, 30. Those aren't numbers that I want it to plot. Those are just labels. And then the only thing that I want it to plot is over here are those pH values. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight everything, and I'm going to go to insert. I can either go here to recommended charts and it'll show me like what charts it thinks will work well, or I can go here to a column graph. And that's how you would make that graph. Remember that when we click on this plus arrow over here for chart elements, you can find it by activating the chart, or you could also click over here by adding a chart element there. You're going to want to include axes titles and get rid of that chart title because we don't do titles at an AP level. Remember that the axes titles down here, this would be light intensity, and then also we do figure captions. So this would be figure 1, and then underneath it you would write a descriptive caption that describes the data set. So this would be the relationship or the effect of increasing light intensity on pH. We would want to make sure that you could have the correct label for your y-axis as well. And then also know that you're doing one graph that's going to show pH, the other one's going to show absorption, but you would just follow the same process, and absorption would be right here. Okay, so let's say that you want, or you're choosing to do option 2, where you want to do a line graph. So I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to get this graph out of the way and show you what we're going to do here as well. So notice here I have time. I have 0 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you have other time periods, you're going to go ahead and put those here in this first column. Notice that I do have those labeled so that Excel knows that that isn't data that's being plotted. That's just going to go on the x-axis. And then over here I have the data for our dark, 10, 20, and 30 centimeters. So if you highlight everything and we insert a graph, we're going to get weird graphs, and they're going to be columns, or we'll get like weird different line graphs, and it won't show up the way that we really want it to. So instead, you're going to highlight just the 2 columns to begin with, and we're going to start with just that one line, and that's it. Looks like that is plotted exactly how I want it to plot, with each of our data points going on the line. And then what I'm going to do is hover right here next to this cell, and I'm going to hold down my left button on my mouse and pull over to the right, and then I can add in all of those other lines. So sometimes if we highlight everything at once, we're going to get weird graphs. I will just highlight the first 2 columns, put in one line, and then remember right here when we see that double arrow, we can move it and we can change and add more or less lines if we so desire. Also, when you do this, remember either click here on this plus to add a chart element or up here at the top, and we would want to add in a legend, and we would want axis titles but no chart title. I hope this helps, guys. Have a great day.